I got creative. So, this is the rehab pyramid. You start off with the bottom, build the foundation, right? So you decrease pain and swelling, and then once you decrease pain and swelling, increase flexibility and range of motion. Then you go to increase muscular strength and endurance, and then increase neuromuscular control, and then functional exercise first, and then you end with performance specific exercise. So, and then why do we do this way? So again, like I said, you're laying a foundation on top of foundation, so you have to start somewhere, and you have to start with decreasing pain and swelling. If a patient is in pain, they don't want to do anything. So they're not going to want to do some kind of leg extension. They're not going to want to do a squat. If their knee is in pain, why do you think they would want to get down and squat? If their leg is swollen, their knee is swollen, they're not going to be able to squat because their motion is going to be restricted. So that's why we decrease pain and swelling first. Get the patient comfortable, get the swelling out, so that they can move on to regaining flexibility and range of motion, which is the next step in the pyramid. And those have to be sufficient before you're advancing strength, just to prevent injury. If you have a tight muscle that is weak and it doesn't have the best range of motion, then it's not going to be capable of performing certain strength exercises or gaining strength that it needs. So once we get that flexibility and range of motion back to where a person can move normally, you move on to muscular strength and endurance. So we do that before we do any neuromuscular control, to again lay a foundation. For example, if you're going to have someone do a squat on a BOSU ball before they're strong enough to, if you can't perform a normal double leg squat on the solid ground, there is no way you're going to get someone to do a double leg squat on a BOSU ball, because they just don't have the strength to even do a normal squat. Because a lot of those neuromuscular control exercises that we do are just strengthening exercises that we've already done in rehab with an added balance component to it. So they have to be able to do those basic rehab exercises for strength before neuromuscular control. So we need good neuromuscular control before doing sport-specific, performance-specific, functional activity, all of that. So whenever I went to TCU for my immersion, one of the girls that tore her ACL, we talked about how when she tore her ACL, it wasn't because of a weakness issue. The only issue that it had was a neuromuscular control deficit, malfunction, whatever you want to call it. There just was not good communication between her muscle and the receptors in her knee. So her knee stayed, and her brain told her to twist and tore the ACL. So it begs the question, if she had better neuromuscular control, if we focused more on that and obviously still focused on strengthening, would the tear be as likely? I don't know, but that's just an example that I can think of that why neuromuscular control is important before adding in sport-specific movements like cutting and bounding and jumping and certain things like that. And then the last part of the pyramid, functional and performance specific. We always start with functional, which is activities of daily living, but also general exercise, like in a weight room, running, weightlifting, jumping, stuff like that. And then, you get into sport specific. Once you can exercise in a gym or do exercises like that you would do in a gym, then we get into sport specific, more agility, more plyometrics, and stuff like that. So that is the rehab pyramid. So for this manual therapy technique, it's called a friction massage. And usually the way you do it, scoot towards me, you would want their knee kind of like about right there, 20 degrees of flexion, and I usually just put my knee under them like that so that I can work with it. It's called the open pack position. Just working right here, it relaxes the quad a little bit, so that I'm going to show you this friction massage on the patellar tendon in a second, but when you relax the quad, it's all connected down into your patellar tendon, so that patellar tendon's gonna be relaxed. But, so that the camera can see it, I'm gonna have her sit up on the side of the table. Knees hanging off. So these friction massages are good for, they're usually used to treat muscles, tendons, ligaments, joint capsules. So you're gonna move basically against the muscle fiber or fascial fiber, whatever you're working with. So those muscle fibers, they're coming down vertical. So whenever we do a friction massage on the patellar tendon, you're gonna take your index finger under your middle finger, and you're gonna go against the fibers like that, okay? And so I almost imagine it as like if we're relaying those fibers down, trying to get them to lay in the correct order and positions. Because we learned in the rehab pyramid that certain exercises are helping lay down those collagen fibers. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's, and this particular PNF stretching is contract, relax. I'm gonna do it on her hamstring since we're focusing on the knee. So this particular technique is good for tight muscles. Hamstrings are usually very tight on many people. So you're gonna perform it 5 times. You are going to passively move the patient into, it's gonna be basically hip flexion, so you're putting that hamstring on stretch. And you're gonna go to the end range based on the patient's tolerance. So usually I just communicate, hey, let me know when to stop, so they feel stretch. And then you'll hold there, and you'll instruct the patient to push against you, push against your body. But you're gonna allow them, really not against your body, you're gonna allow them to go through a full resisted range of motion. So you can start it out at your body, depending on how strong they are, it kind of depends. And then once they basically get back down to the table, you're gonna tell them to relax. They need to completely relax their muscle and let you passively move them back to their hopefully new end range, so they should go a little further. Again, communicate, just, you don't wanna go too far. So, and it should be a continuous, so you're gonna go up, push, 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 down, relax, back up, push, push, push. So it's not, we're not holding here, we're not gonna hold at the new end range until the end.
Okay.
So once you get to the 5th rep, you can hold it for 30 seconds and then bring it back down. So I'm gonna show you, okay, relax. Let me know when you feel a stretch.
A little stretch.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold here. All right, I'm gonna have you push down against me with your foot. Okay, you're gonna push your whole leg down to the table. Ready? Go. Push, 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 push. Relax. Tell me when.
Okay.
Push. Relax.
Right there.
Push. Relax. Ready when?
Right there.
Push. Last one I'm gonna hold on this one. Tell me when.
Right there.
We go a little further, so I would hold here for 30 seconds. 29, 30, and then slowly back down.
Okay.
Relax. Someone.
Okay. I'm gonna resist you, and you're gonna push against me. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Push, 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 push.
Someone. There. Okay.
Push, 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 push.
Someone.
Anything.
Okay.
Push, 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 push.
29, 30. Cool.
Go. Okay, so this part is the strengthening exercises for the knee joint. So, the main thing that you see with knee strengthening is quad strengthening. So I'm gonna have you lay down on the table. And so the most basic exercise that you can do for quad strengthening is called a quad set. So all that she's really gonna do is contract her quad, and it really focusing on getting the knee straight. So the first thing I have people do is pull their toes up towards them, and then I'm just gonna tell them contract your quad. And if they need like a cue for it, I can put my hand under their knee and I can say, push my hand down into the table with your knee. So then I should feel pressure on the back of her knee. You can relax. And then they can hold that for however long. If you want isometric, it's more of like 30 seconds. If it's just general strengthening, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. So the progression of that is called a short arm quad. So I'm gonna put this foam roller under her knees, and then basically give the same instructions as I did for the quad set. Pull your toes up, contract your quad, except this time I'm gonna have her extend her knee. So straighten your knee out, just like that. And she can hold it or just come back down, relax. Okay, and then have her completely relax. And then do it again. So that's a short arc quad. And then the more advanced progression of that, I'm gonna have you sit on the edge of the table. It's called a long arc quad. So again, pull your toes up towards you, contract your quad, and straighten your knee. Just like that. And relax. And with that, you can do progressions where you focus on eccentric, or you just are doing like a concentric focus. But that's beginner is quad set, medium and intermediate is short arc quad, and advanced is long arc quad. So this one is advancing balance or coordination or agility for the knee. So simple balance exercise. I'm gonna have you do single leg balance. Okay. If you really wanna get technical, I'm gonna have you hands on your hips. Flex your hip just like that, and just stand on one leg for 20 seconds. Start out at 20 seconds, just like that. Simple balance. This is especially good to see where they are, like once you start doing balance exercises. And then you can relax. Intermediate, the fun little AirX pad. Same position, single leg balance on the AirX. Just like that. It's a little harder, it's an unstable surface. Good. Okay, relax. Even more advanced than that. Okay, so I'm gonna have her do single leg balance once again. On the AirX, you're gonna face me. And I have a tennis ball, and we would just do a ball toss. Like that. And I would not throw it right at her, because of, yeah, that's harder like that. So that's balance and coordination. Okay, so this is the functional test part, and really a functional test by definition is any functional exercise that is measured or timed. So I'm going to show you a step-up functional test. We do step-ups in rehab all the time as an exercise, but anytime you put like a number on that, like, okay, well now we're gonna measure how many you can get in a certain amount of time, then it turns into a functional test, because now we're measuring progress based on a objective standard, basically. So for instance, first time you teach the patient an exercise like a step-up, you could say, okay, we're gonna do this as a functional test because we're gonna get a baseline for you. So we're gonna have you do as many step-ups as you can in 30 seconds. And then you get that baseline, and then you start incorporating that exercise into rehab so they can basically practice the test. And then after 2 to 3 weeks of that practice during rehab, you retest and see where they're at. So for a forward step up test that is really good for knees, you're gonna use a step. Usually a step would be taller than this for a functional test, but this is what we've got. So you're going to have the patient step up with the injured side first. So let's say your right leg is your injured side. So you're gonna step up with your right leg first, and then the non-injured side, and then you step down with your right leg again, the injured side, and down with the non-injured side. So then I would count the number of times that you step up, down, probably that you end up down. So if you were like to end up, then that wouldn't count as a step. The main thing is when you do a functional test to make sure however you test or measure the baseline, that's how you measure the retest. So that it does matter sometimes how you measure it, but as long as you measure it the same, it's still gonna give you the same measurement. So let's go ahead, I don't have a watch on me and I can't use my time. You wanna, okay, let's time for 30 seconds and I'll count how many steps you get. Ready? And go. Okay, so that was 14 because you were about to end on 15, but, so that's a functional test.